The housing market bubble and the fact that half of Americans can't afford a starter house today. I read an article on Benzinga.com written by AJ Fabino titled Housing Market in Biggest Bubble of All Time, warns Reventure CEO. This situation is not sustainable. I'll share a quote with all of you from this author. He said, "The U.S. housing market is under renewed scrutiny as some experts warn of an unsustainable bubble that could rival or surpass the infamous crash of 2006. I'm going to stop here for a moment and share my thoughts. There have been a lot of people on YouTube predicting a housing crash for years, and it has yet to come to fruition. We have seen a slowdown in some areas, though. Please understand, real estate is very local. There are still areas that are hot. But higher interest rates haven't slowed things down as much as some people thought because equity prices are still high. There are a lot of Americans flush with cash. You also have Wall Street titans who are continuing to buy real estate. Some of that has slowed a bit. For example, Zillow discontinued their iBuyer program back in 2021. Getting back to the article, the author referenced the CEO of Reventure Consulting. He said, and I'll quote, "We are in the biggest housing bubble of all time." He then went on to say there is a disconnect between home values and historical norms. Here are my thoughts. I didn't know that Nick was a CEO. I thought he was just a guy who ran a small YouTube channel about the housing market and a guy who created an app with real estate data. I've watched some of his videos in the past, and he does dive deep into real estate data. I admire his passion when it comes to analyzing real estate content from a variety of sources. Nick goes on to say only twice in U.S. history have housing prices reached such dizzying heights relative to long-term averages. This is in 2006 and now. He says this situation is not sustainable. Home prices must crash or inflation needs to skyrocket out of control or perhaps some combination thereof. Here are my thoughts. Let's hope we don't see a housing crash like we saw back in 2006. That caused a lot of pain for countless people. It wasn't a short-term crash. It took years for distressed properties to work through the system. There was so much junk paper floating around back then. Some properties sat vacant for years before they were eventually sold. It was a sad time for many families. I remember touring foreclosed homes that still had a lot of personal property in them. It was very weird to see old bills still sitting on the kitchen counter or old children toys in the backyard. I can't tell you how many vacant houses I saw with "Live, Laugh, Now" decals on the walls. Some people spent a lot of money on wild colors for different rooms of their homes and these trendy decals with different sayings. I'm not trying to be cruel with my next remarks, but some people weren't able to live, laugh, or love back then. They weren't able to live in their house anymore because they foreclosed on their house. They probably weren't laughing after that happened. Life was tough for a lot of people because their credit was negatively impacted. Many couples weren't in love anymore after all of this. There were divorces during that era because couples couldn't handle the financial stress. I'm sure there are children out there who still have PTSD from that era. Having to leave your house, your school district, and your friends is never easy. I hope American parents today are doing their best to establish solid financial footing so that doesn't happen to their kids in the future. Getting back to the article, Nick said, "The issue is the relationship between home prices and incomes. Current home prices stand at a multiple of 4.5 times income, a level seen only twice before, which was during the 2006 bubble and in the early 1950s. He points out that the resolution in the 1950s came through a decade of stagnant home prices coupled with robust income growth, which is a scenario he views as unlikely in today's economic climate. Here are my thoughts. I tend to agree with his last statement. Back in the 1950s, we still had an industrial economy in America. World War II left industries in many countries destroyed. People all over the world bought products manufactured in the United States. Jobs were plentiful here during that era. Compare that to what is going on today. A lot of what the world buys is manufactured in China. Former industrial cities and towns in America are economically depressed. Where are all of the jobs going to come from for robust income growth in 2024 and beyond? Maybe some of you think there will be an AI revolution that will create jobs. And sure, that's possible, but AI will likely result in job losses across multiple industries. Maybe some of you think the electric vehicle revolution will result in more jobs. Well, we all know that isn't working out so well for automakers right now. Some are scaling back their EV plans and switching to hybrids as a priority moving forward. Some manufacturers have vehicles sitting in airport parking lots and mall parking lots because they don't know where to put all of the models that people aren't buying. Not only are interest rates a problem, but there are people who are upside down in their vehicles right now. Some bought during the mania when dealers were overcharging for both new and used vehicles. While this negative equity could possibly be rolled over into the purchase of a new vehicle, there are people who may have a hard time affording the payment in this higher interest rate environment. Not only that, but insurance costs more now than in the past. My car insurance went up this past year. My car is older, my driving record is the same, yet my insurance was hiked. Because my car is old, the increase wasn't a big deal. But there are some Americans who own expensive newer cars. I'm sure their insurance rates are becoming unmanageable, especially if they have debt obligations to service. I'm curious, what do you think about the housing market? Do you think it is unsustainable? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Continuing with the theme of real estate today, I read an article on Yahoo Finance put out by Fortune and written by Elena Botras, titled, "Half of all households in the country can't afford a normal starter home." The author of this article referenced Redfin data, which reveals that buyers need to earn almost $80,000 a year to afford a median-priced starter home. Census Bureau data shows that 50.1% of households earn $75,000 or less. Here are my thoughts. There will be people who will remain renters their entire life, and not by choice. Some will never be able to purchase a home. That's just reality. For those that want it bad enough, they will find a way. This may mean living with family or friends or random roommates for years to save up money for a down payment, along with closing costs and appraisal and the inspection fee. Some may need a large down payment to get the monthly mortgage payment down to a level that they can afford. Understand, I'm not suggesting everyone needs a down payment because they don't. There are zero-down VA mortgages for veterans. There are also zero-down USDA mortgages for rural areas that qualify. There are also builders that are cutting some amazing deals to move their inventory in this higher interest rate environment. If someone wants to be a homeowner, it is certainly possible, but it may require relocating and it may require a lot of sacrifice. It's a hard road for some people who have to do it on their own. What do you think about all this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, there is a link in the description beneath this video. You can read more about the different membership levels. Please also check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.